The Reformation and the Counter-Reformation. Both of these movements had a significant impact on the world and a significant impact on the history of music. The Reformation began as an effort on the part of Martin Luther, a Roman Catholic priest, to reform the Catholic Church. He presented a number of ideas to church authorities on how the church might be reinvented or reworked as an institution. And when he realized that his ideas were not going to be used to change the Catholic Church, he established his own branch of Christianity. Basically, although the Reformation failed to reform the Catholic Church, it in fact resulted in the establishment of Protestantism, the first viable and permanent alternative to Catholic Christianity. As you can imagine, the Catholic Church was concerned about losing its members to the many new Christian sects that were emerging, so it decided to undertake a reformation of itself on its own. And it did so in a convocation called the Council of Trent. Trent is the name of a city in what is now northern Italy. This is where church fathers met to determine how to reform the Catholic Church. And they certainly took their time in doing so, for the Council of Trent met on and off from the 1540s through the 1560s. Well over 2 decades. The Council of Trent, of course, did not change any of the tenets of Catholic Christianity, but it did consider just about everything else, including church administration and the way that church services were celebrated. And the council had a number of serious concerns about church music of that time. The council was particularly concerned about separating the sacred from the secular. There were many worldly elements in church administration and in church services, and they wanted to make sure that the sacred and the secular were separated in church music as well. For example, in the documents that appear after the council concerning church music, it is specifically stated that dance music should not be played in church services. This can be taken to mean that dance music was actually played during church services before that time. Also, take note of the fact that separating the sacred from the secular was in the air during the 16th century anyway. It was the first time in the history of Western culture in which people decided that these two elements or aspects of life, the sacred and the secular, ought to be compartmentalized. And that's why our world is thus divided today. Music, and especially church music, had reached a level of complexity that was unprecedented by the mid-16th century, and this was a matter of concern for the Council Fathers. In fact, elaborate polyphony, especially free imitation, means that more than one word might be sung at one time, basically making nonsense of the text of the prayers. The council wanted to ensure that the sung prayers be understood, that every word be intelligible. In fact, they actually considered abolishing polyphony in church music. They did not do so, neither did they actually have to do so, because composers, once they became aware of this, began to write their compositions in such a way that the words could be understood when they were sung in sacred compositions, and today you find the same practice observed in sacred music by both Protestant and Catholic composers right down to the present.